Welcome to today's math class. Olariwaju Bolariwa is my name. Teaching is my calling. What do we have for today? We are still on quadratic equation, and this time around we are moving into the advanced level of the quadratic equation. Here we shall be solving quadratic equation questions using the formula method. The formula method is generated from the completing the square method. The completing the square method generated the formula method. And how is this implemented? We implement this by having minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, everything all over 2a. I will write it here. The formula is minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, everything all over 2a. From what we have learned so far, the a is the coefficient of x squared. So the a here is like 1, the b is 11, and the c is 18. For the purpose of this class, we are going to solve questions from question number 4 and question number 2. So starting with the question number 2. Here, our a is 6, the b is 13, and the c, which is the constant, is not 5 but rather minus 5. Don't be confused by the variable they use in the question. It does not change anything. It's just a variable that we are looking for. So either they use y, they use k, they use w or q. It does not change anything. What that matters most is the ability to identify the a, the b, and the c. Now we substitute this into the equation. We have x to be equal to minus b. So I write my minus. What is b? 13 plus or minus. Then the square root of what? Of b squared. We have 13, which is the b squared, minus 4 times a times c. We have minus 4 multiplied by a, which is 6, then multiplied by c, and the c is minus 5. Everything divided by 2 multiplied by a. We have 2 multiplied by a which is 6. Moving on, x is going to be equal to minus 13 plus or minus the square root of 13, and square root of 13, or rather the square of 13 is 169. Minus 4 times 6. A lot of students make mistake here. They leave the minus and carry out the whole operation. Minus 4 times 6, that's going to give you minus 24. Then minus 24 multiplied by minus 5. To start with, minus times minus will result to addition, plus. Fine. 5 multiplied by 5, we have 20. Then 5 multiplied by 2, we have 10. Then 10 plus the remaining 2, we have 12. This gives us 120. So we have plus 120. Everything divided by 2 multiplied by 6, which will give us 12. Now from here, x is going to give us minus 13 plus or minus the square root of 169 plus 120. That's going to give us, we have 9 here, we have 8, and we have 2. All divided by 12. Then the next step will be x to be equal 13 plus or minus the square root of 289. That should give us 17. We have 17 all over 12. So our x will give us, we now break, we can decide to break it. 8 or 2. We have 10 minus 13. Let's start with the addition. Plus 17 all over this 13 place, all over 12, or the x is equals to minus 13. This time around we are picking the second option, which is the minus. We have minus 17 all over 12. So the x is going to be equal minus 13 plus 17. You owe 13, you have 17, we have 4. We have positive 4 all over 12, or the x gives us minus 13 minus 17. This is going to give us, we are owing 13 and we are also owing 17. This is going to give us minus 30. Then x is going to be, by the time you reduce this to the lowest form, 4 goes here, 1, 4 goes here, 3, 1 over 3, or 6 goes here, 2, 6 in 30, we have 5, and we are not forgetting our negative sign. So if you have been following this class from the previous level, which is the intermediate level, I told you that our answers, when we use the factorization method, were given here. So let's verify if they are the same. Minus 5 over 2 here, and 1 over 3. Easy. So to the question number 4. We first treat what we have here by first moving it to one side. So we have the 4 x squared, fine, minus 3 over 4x minus 1 all over 6. By the time minus 1 all over 3 comes here, it becomes plus 1 all over 3, all to give us 0. Fine, this is like all over 1. So to stop it from being a fraction, we find the LCM of the denominator and we multiply all the numerator by the value. Mind you, we have an x here, so I'm going to place it here. We can't afford to forget that. So we move. The LCM of the denominator is 12. 12 multiplied by all the numerator. We have 12x squared. Then 12 multiplied by 3. We have minus 36 all over 4x. 12 multiplied by 1, we have minus 12 all over 6. 12 multiplied by 1 again, we have plus 12 all over 3x to give us 0. Now let's break it where it is possible. We have 12x squared. Alright? Then we now break this one. 4 in 36. So 4 in 36. We have it to be 9 minus 9x. And finally for this, 6 in 12, we have 2. And 3 in 12, that will give us 4x, all to give us 0. So by working this out, we have, by collecting the like terms, this is minus 9, and we have 4. We are only 9 and we have 4. So we are going to take the 4. We will be left with minus 5. We have minus 5x. Then we have the constants to be minus 2, all to give us 0. So having done that, we now introduce our formula into it. Since this is our A, our B is minus 5, and our C is minus 2. A is 12, B is minus 5, and C is also minus 2. Let's place it into the formula. Our x is going to be equal to minus, what is our b? Minus 5. Don't forget, minus here, I've written it. Now, minus 5, because b is minus 5. Of which we close that bracket, plus or minus follows. Then we have the square root. So the square root is b squared. And the square root, we have b squared. What is our b? Minus 5. We have minus 5 raised to the power of 2. Then minus 4 times a times c. Our a is 12. And our c is minus 2. Everything divided by 2 multiplied by 8. 2 multiplied by 12. X is equal to minus times minus plus. We have plus 5. But naturally, I don't need to write a plus. So I'm cleaning it off. Then we have plus or minus. The square root minus 5 raised to power 2. Minus 5 raised to power 2. Minus times minus plus. Then 5 multiplied by 5. We have 25. So this gives me positive 25. Now back to this. Minus 4 times 12. This is minus 4 multiplied by 12. That's going to give us 48. Upon getting minus 48 times minus 2. Minus times minus plus. So we are going to have plus in the first place. So we have 48 multiplied by 2. So 48 multiplied by 2 will give us 96. All divided by 24. So from here, we are going to have x to be equal to 5 plus or minus the square root 25 plus 96. That's going to be 121. We have 121. Everything all over 24. So from here, let's try to find the square root of 121. X is going to be 5 plus or minus. The square root of 121 is 11 over 24. So we break it into 2. X is going to be equal to 5 plus 11 all over 24, or x to give us 5 minus 11 as the second option. So from here, this is going to give us 16. 16 over 24, or 5 minus 11 is going to give us minus 6 over 24. So let's cut this. 4 goes in 16, how many times? 4. 4 goes in 24, how many times? 6. Or x should give us 6 goes in 6, 1. And 6 in 24, it goes 4 times. We can't leave it this way. We can still move a little bit further. 2 goes in 4, 2. And 2 in 6, we have 3. Or x to give us minus 1 all over 4. So let's verify if this and what we got when we use factorization method are the same. When we use factorization method for the question number 4, we had minus 1 all over 4, minus 1 all over 4. Then 2 over 3, easy. With what we have done so far, I'm leaving you to apply the formula method to solve the remaining part of these first 4 questions. I have treated the question number 4 and I have treated the question number 2. Using the formula method, use it to solve the question number 1 and question number 3. So on to the next one, which is going to be the sum and product of roots. How we are going to use that to get our quadratic equation. Moving to the sum and product of roots. When they say sum means addition and product means multiplication. What we have been finding so far are the roots of the quadratic equation. So sometimes questions could come like, given that the sum of roots of a quadratic equation is this and the product is that, find the quadratic equation that led to that. So how we go with that is this. Let's assume that the roots of the quadratic equation are, let's assume that the roots are u and v. Now to get the quadratic equation back, like we did in the previous class, which was the beginner's level of the quadratic equation, I told you that it's going to be x minus the first root, then x minus the second root. So that means our x minus the first root, which is u, then x minus the second root, which is v. This is u. Now when we open this bracket, x multiplied by x, we have x squared, then x multiplied by v, we have minus vx or xv, minus u multiplied by x, we have minus ux, and finally minus u multiplied by minus v. It will give us plus uv. If we try to factorize this one, as x and x are common here, we have x squared minus, open bracket, we have v plus u. V plus u, all in bracket, then we have the x outside. How is this so? We factorize. What is common here and common here? We have minus and x. Minus and x. That's why we have the minus and x outside. Then we are left with what? V and u. By the time we multiply minus against minus, we have positive v. By the time we multiply minus u against the minus x, we have positive u. Then finally we have plus uv. This is giving us the structure of the sum and product of a quadratic equation. That means the value that is here is the sum of the root of a quadratic equation, and our constant is the product of the root of the quadratic equation, which we will eventually find. Meaning that from the question, mere seeing a question, let me just give an assumed figure or value here. Let's assume that we have maybe x squared plus 6x plus 8 equals to 0. An assumed question. That means this value that we have here, this 6, is the sum of the root of the equation. Whatever we are going to get, by the time we sum them together, is going to give us this 6. And considering this minus in front of it, that means the sum is going to be minus then the value that is in front of the x, which is 6. And automatically, the product of this equation rather is going to be u multiplied by v, and the u multiplied by v is taking this position, or this a is taking the position of u multiplied by v. That means the product is going to be 8. So here is what we have next. We want to construct the quadratic equation that produces the sum of roots, that is minus 3, and the product of the root to be minus 4. That means when the root was gotten, or when the roots were gotten, by the time they summed the two together, it gave us minus 3. And when the two roots were multiplied together, the output or the result of that was minus 4. So what quadratic equation led to that? So using this structure, we proceed by saying for the first one, x squared minus v plus u dx then plus uv equals to 0. We have our x squared. This minus given here, the sum. This is the sum, alright? We have the sum to be minus 3. I've written this. Now this is the sum. When it says sum, addition, so we have minus 3 given here. Then we have our x plus the uv, which is the product. The product is giving us minus 4. We have minus 4 here equals to 0. We are trying to identify the quadratic equation that brought this. So we shall proceed by saying the equation will be x squared minus times minus plus 3. We have our x plus times minus minus. We have minus 4 to give us 0. This was the equation that gave us two roots, of which those two roots, by the time they summed them together, it gave us minus 3. And by the time they multiplied them together, it gave us minus 4. You can take your time to find the roots of this quadratic equation, add them together. I'm very sure you are going to have minus 3. And by the time you multiply them together, you are going to have minus 4. Easy. So the second one, the sum of the roots. Okay, let me use this place for the second one. The sum of the roots is given to be minus 1 over 15. Using this, x squared minus the sum u plus v, which is the sum, is giving us 1 all over 15. I have my x written. Now plus uv, which is the product. The product is minus 2 all over 15. So I have plus, what's the product? The product is minus 2 all over 15 equals to 0. The next thing is to clear this out. But mind you, the sum of the root here is minus. So we cannot afford to omit that. It's minus. Now we sum it out. X squared minus times minus plus. We have addition. Then we have 1 multiplied by 1 all over 15. We have 1 all over 15x plus times minus again, of course, is minus. We have 2 all over 15 equals to 0. So in order to prevent this from being a fraction, we get the LCM. Fortunately, the denominators here are the same. We just multiply all the numerator by 15. So by the time you multiply this x squared by 15, you have 15x squared. So by the time you multiply the 1 by 15, you have 15. 15 divided by 15, you have 1. So you cannot write 1x, of course. You are either going to write an x. For this place, minus 2 multiplied by 15, you have minus 30. So by the time you cut this, 15 in 30, you have 2. So you are left with minus 2. So this gives us equals to 0. By the time you solve this, you are going to get two values as your root, of course. Once you sum them together, you are getting minus 1 all over 15. By the time you multiply them together, you are definitely going to get minus 2 all over 15. Easy. Without wasting time, we move straight to word problems leading to quadratic equation. We have 3 questions here to solve together. Here I'll be taking you through the first and the second one, of which you are going to work on the third one as part of your task. Now let's look at what the first one gives. Saka's age exceeds William's age by 15. That means Saka is 15 years older than Williams. At the same time, the sum of the square of their ages is 725. What is their ages? We have to find the Saka's age, likewise Williams' age. Now let's take it one step at a time. Saka's age, let's say, is X, exceed William's age by 15. So if Saka is X years old, definitely Williams will be X minus 15. I guess you understand what I'm trying to bring out here. If Saka is X years old, then Williams will be X minus 15 because Williams is 15 years younger than Saka. We have two kinds of analogy here. At the same time, we can say if Williams is X years old, that means Saka will be 15 years older than Williams. So it means Saka can be X plus 15. What really matters most there is Saka should be 15 years older than Williams. If Saka is X, so we can assume that Saka is 30 years old. Definitely Williams will be 30 minus 15, which makes it 15. If Saka is 25 years old, so definitely Williams will be that 25 minus 15, which will make it 10 years. So either this option or this option will give you the answer. Now let's start with this first. Upon giving us the first statement, the second statement states that the sum of the square of their ages is 725. The sum to add this and this, but not just that, the square of their ages, like the square of their ages, the sum of the square of their ages. So it means the sum of this one and this one, the square of each one. So that means x squared plus the Williams age, which is x minus 15 squared. The square of their ages, when they are summed together, it will give us 725. Of course, when we move on from here, we make this one 2, then we open the bracket. This is already x, already established. Now we have plus x minus 15. Likewise, the second one, because it is squared, x minus 15. All will give us 725. Then we open this bracket. X squared plus x multiplied by x, we have x squared. X multiplied by 15, we have x multiplied by minus 15, we have minus 15x. Now let's come to this. X multiplied by x, minus 15 multiplied by x, it gives us minus 15x. And minus 15 multiplied by minus 15, minus times minus, we have plus, then 15 times 15 will give us 225. We have 225. All to give us 725. Now we sum the like terms together. X squared and another x squared is going to be 2 of the x squares. We have an x squared, we have another x squared. You sum them together, they become 2x squared. Now minus 15x minus 15x. I owe x in 15 places. I owe x in 15 places. That makes it minus 30x. And finally we have this, which is 225. This comes here, becomes minus. We have plus 225 minus 725, all to give us 0. So what we are trying to do here is to convert these words into quadratic equation, and we are getting closer to it. So 2x squared, this is just minus 30x. So when we sum this together, 225 minus 725, that will give us minus 500, all to give us 0. Yes, the quadratic equation is set here. I can choose any method of my choice, either completing the square, factorization method, or formula method. I prefer to use the factorization method here. So I multiply the a and the c together. This will give me 1000x squared. Then I look for the two factors in such a way that when I sum them together, it will give me minus 30. And when I multiply them together, it will give me, oh, this is minus, it will give me minus 1000. So when I work on that, let's see what will come out of it. When I multiply them together, it must give me minus 1000 x squared, and equally when I sum them together, it must give me minus 30x. So without wasting time here, it should be something around 50 multiplied by 20. 50 multiplied by 20 will give me 1000. 50 multiplied by 20 will give me 1000. We now need to manipulate it properly. 50x and 20x. So I need to apply minus to one of the two factors. So if I put the minus right here, okay, let me write it again, 50x and 20x. If I put the minus in front of 20, of course the multiplication of the two will give me minus 1000x squared. But by the time I sum it together, it will not be minus 30, it will be positive 30. That means the subtraction will be placed in front of the 50x. So minus 50x multiplied by 20x will give me minus 1000x squared. At the same time, minus 50x plus 20x will result to minus 30x. Beautiful, I have the two factors ready. So 22x squared, then we have minus 50x. Then the second factor is 20x. Then I have my c minus 500, all to give us 0. So what is common between the two factors here? The highest common factor is 2. So I have the 2, because not only 2, this one has x and we have x here too. So I have 2x. So as it is 2x, we open the bracket, 2 will cancel 2, x squared divided by x, we have an x. At the same time here, 50 divided by 2, we have 25. So we have minus 25. Of course, x has cancelled x. So to the other side here, what is common here and also common here? X is here, x is not here. X is not common. 10 goes here, 10 also goes here. But not only that, 20 goes here and 20 goes in 500. So we have 20 to be common between the two. So we have 20, open bracket, 20x divided by 20, 20 tapa 20, you have an x, and 500 divided by 20, it will give us 25. Minus 500 divided by 20 will give us minus 25. We have minus 25, all to give us 0. So we group the one that are outside and the one in the bracket. So 2x plus 20 equals to 0, or x minus 25 equals to 0. We are trying to find x. 2x is equals to minus 20, or x is equals to 25. So by the time you find x here, x is going to result to minus 10, because 20 divided by 2, minus 10, or x to be equal to 25. Easy. Not only that, we have only found x to be either minus 10 or 25. But the question, don't let us forget the question. We have to find their ages. There is no way the two options will work. One of the two options will be reasonable. Let me use the word reasonable. One of the two options will be possible. The other one will not be possible. Because a person's age cannot be minus. You cannot say a person that is giving birth to today is minus something. So in that case, the minus 10 is not an option. Then it means the Saka's age is 25. Coincidentally, I made use of 25 as example, and eventually it ends up to be 25. So therefore, Saka's age is x, and x is 25. While Brilliant's age is that 25 minus 15. Well, let's write it. Minus 15, which will result to 10. Easy. If you have used this method too, you have the same answer. What will have happened is, let me just quickly summarize that. What will have happened there will have been x squared, the square of Saka Brilliant's age, then plus Saka's age, which is x plus 15, which we are going to square, must result to 725. So by the time you expand this one into, then you sum it with x squared, then you work it out, you have a similar answer. Sure, we go straight to the second question. Here it states that the area of a rectangle, which is 60 centimeters square, and the length is 11 centimeters more than the width. The width is also the breadth. Every rectangle, or let's say, okay, we have a rectangle like this. Every rectangle, the area of a rectangle is length times breadth. Let's take that one, the first clue. Then you now get it to us that the area of this rectangle is 60 centimeters. The length is 11 centimeters more than the width. So if the width is assumed to be x, definitely the length will be 11 more than the width, which is assumed to be x. Then they gave it to us that the area is 60 centimeters squared. So if the width is x, the length will be 11 more than the width. It could also be assumed to be like this, like, well, if the length is x, then the width will be 11 lower than the size of the length. So it will now be x minus 11. The two are denoting the same expression. The two are correct. Because here you are stating that the x is the length and the breadth is 11 lower than the size of the length. Or the breadth is x and the length is 11 more than the size of the breadth. So it's like me saying that I'm 11 years older than you, or you are 11 years younger than myself. So the two are correct. Now let's go back to this. We are now to find just the width, this x. Of course, area of every rectangle is length times breadth. That means x multiplied by this will give us this 60. So we have x, open bracket, 11 plus x, which will give us 60. We open this, 11x plus x times x squared will give us 60. We just want to rearrange it. They are not crossing over. So the x squared first, then we have plus 11x, then the 60 comes here, it becomes minus 60, everything equals to 0. Now we have our quadratic equation from this set of words given. Now we can use any method of our choice. I will use the formula method this time around. So where it states that x is equals to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, everything divided by 2a. Now we substitute the variables into this. X is going to be equal to b, which is 11, and we have a minus here, minus, plus or minus the square root of b squared. The b is 11, 11 squared minus 4 multiplied by a, which the coefficient is 1, multiplied by c, which is minus 60, not 60, minus 60. So we have minus 60 there. Everything divided by 2 times a. The a is already given to the 1. So x is going to be equivalent to minus 11 plus or minus the square root, 11 raised to the power 2, 121, minus 4 times 1 minus 4, minus 4 times minus 60. A lot of students make mistake here. Minus times minus will become plus. So we have plus the 4 multiplied by 60. That will give us 240. We have 240. Everything divided by 2 multiplied by 1, which will still be 2. So what will x give us? X is going to be minus 11 plus or minus the square root of addition of these two will give us 361. Yes, 361. Everything divided by 2. X goes forward to become minus 11 plus or minus the square root of 361. That's going to be 19. That's going to be 19. All divided by 2. Now we can share. So upon sharing, I'm not using this word. So upon sharing, x is going to be equal to minus 11. We start with the plus, then plus 19. Everything divided by 2, or the x is going to be equal to minus 11. We are not using plus now, we are using minus, minus 19. Everything divided by 2. So x will result to minus 11 plus 19. You are only 11, you have 19. So that's going to result to 8. We have 8 all over 2. Or the x to be minus 11 and minus 19. That's going to be minus 30. We have minus 30 all over 2. So x is either going to be 4 or x is going to be minus 15. And if you look at this clearly, we have to find the length of the width. Can the size of a rectangle be negative? No. The size of any shape can never be negative. At least it will be 1 or 0 point something. So that means minus 15 is not an option. So the size, therefore the size of the width is going to be equal to x, and the x is 4 centimeters. Easy. That will be about that. I'm leaving the third question to you to solve, like I said earlier on. So you place your answer at the comment section, and if you have stayed this far with me, it means you are receiving value for this. So if you have enjoyed this video, kindly give me your like button, and if you are new on this channel, click on the subscribe button below. Share with your loved ones so that you don't miss any other concept that will be released subsequently. Until next time I see you, I say stay blessed and be good.